So I want to talk through that transition and that transfer that you made from going to Binghamton and then coming to Drexel, and then also chasing down or owning that similar perspective and building off of that going forward throughout the rest of your collegiate career.
Yeah, so when I was at Binghamton and at Drexel too, wrestling was never my problem. I know I've always been a good wrestler. I know I can compete with the best guys in the country because I've done it. And the biggest issue is just the way that I was living my life outside of the room. And at Binghamton, in a lot of colleges, but there's that culture of partying and drinking, and I was the starter. So in my mind at the time, which is a terrible way to look at wrestling, I was still getting better at wrestling, but I was like, as long as I can beat the next best guy in the team, that's my job. My job is to beat the next best guy in the team and stay in the starting lineup. I was good enough as a wrestler where I was able to drink 4 nights a week and get absolutely wasted and do terrible weight cuts. And I was still able to figure it out because in the room, when you're wrestling the second best guy, it's not on weigh-in day. You know what I mean? It's not on the day you're stepping on the scale. It's usually not the day before. When you're going live and the coach is like judging you, you're both up at weight. You know what I mean? We're both walking around with no weight cut going on. So it's not realistic. And it caused some issues. I got in trouble. There was actually one night that I woke up in the hospital from drinking. I didn't know where the fuck I was. I didn't know what happened. I just got so drunk that the cops ended up picking me up off the side of the road and bringing me to the hospital. And at the time, I was extremely immature. Extremely immature. I'll admit that. All the things that were going wrong in my life at Binghamton were 100% my fault and my fault only. Well, at the time, that's not how I looked at it. I looked at it as it's your fault. It's what can you do for me? How are you going to fix my problems? How are you going to address this? So at the time, Kyle Borshoff was now the head coach when this happened. He pulled me into the office. He said, "Hey, listen, you got a problem. People on the team told me you got a problem. You're drinking too much." And instantly I'm like, no, fuck that. Everybody on the team drinks. It's not just me. Everybody's doing it. I don't have a fucking problem. Which really, the whole team had a problem, but I'm looking at it as, dude, we're all doing it. It's just what the team does. So it's not a big deal. And then he wanted me to go up to 57. I didn't want to hear it. I said, no, I'm the best 49 pounder. So if I want to wrestle 49, I get to wrestle 49. And there were obviously some punishments that he wanted to put in there, and I didn't want to hear it. Why are you punishing me? I'm still the best guy in the team. And just my ego got in the way. I told him, I said, listen, I'm leaving because I don't want to hear anything you got to say to me right now. You know what I mean? So I'll just leave. I'll just get a fresh start. After a couple weeks, I cooled down and I realized, oh shit, this is all my fault. And I went into his office and I tried to stay. And he said, no, there's not a place for you on this team anymore. So at that point, I didn't have a choice. He made my choice for me. I entered the transfer portal. And that's when I ended up kind of getting reached out for a few schools, took a visit to Drexel. There were some guys on the team that I already knew. I liked the city. I liked the RTC and the guys that I was going to be able to train with. So I ended up transferring to Drexel at that point.
You had a huge momentum shift with your maturity. All the young guys, I'm not saying trying to generalize it for all of us, but we all been through the mix. We've all had those immature moments where we think the party and the part, especially when we're excelling at trying to excel at the highest level, we think the partying and all the extracurricular social life stuff is what helps define that clout for us. It's like, oh, like we could wrestle, be a high performing athlete, and then step away and detract from wrestling, then also be a top performing partier. And like bouncing back and forth kind of distorts you from what your actual goals are, which is to be the best. And a lot of people try to consume themselves in, or not even consume themselves, but be perfect at both of them. But that's never going to be the case when you're going to be the best. So when you shifted over to Drexel, just because I was on the team with you and we're super duper close, I saw that momentum shift firsthand.